Hello and welcome to the Radical Retrospectives podcast. My name is Tessa Buddle. I'm the Executive Director of Collective Encounters, and today I'm joined by the three newest members of our Board of Trustees, Kat Foley, Kate Elder Fuller, and Jo Mary Watson. Now, the tagline of Radical Retrospectives was looking back to look forward. So I thought it could be interesting to speak to these three people who all have kind of connections to different parts of Collective Encounters history and are now making a pretty big contribution to its future. So I'm going to dive straight in, and I want to ask each of you to start by telling us about your story with Collective Encounters. And I'm going to come, Kat, to you first, because I think I actually know the least about your connection with the company's history.
Yeah, absolutely. My first experience with Collective Encounters is that as a young person, I used to attend the Valley Community Youth Theatre, which is an amazing little theatre in Netherley. So it's a little bit far away from the centre of Liverpool, in an area where there's not a lot of amenities. There's not necessarily loads to do. And this theatre had popped up, and these incredible youth leaders, I guess, took us on this journey of becoming like a really incredible youth theatre. And it was one of those facilitators, Alison Down, who through my life has been a huge mentor and inspiration to me. And Alison was very involved with Collective Encounters towards my kind of transition period into like going to university. And then when I'd come home, she'd wrote me into stuff. So I remember coming to a workshop when I was probably around 18 or 19 and being really fascinated by the work. So I kept following the work of Collective Encounters and basically came back into the organisation through a training pathway. Through some of my work roles, I was really interested in trauma-informed practice, in really good evaluation, creative tools, like all of these type of things. And it was the organisation that just kept coming up, and I knew that I could recommend them. So there's been a lot of kind of London-based organisations that I've recommended that then come on board with Collective Encounters. And through that work, I was just really hopeful that I could in some way be involved and like give something back, and I've got loads out of it.
Thanks, Kat. That's so interesting to hear that you sort of first encountered Collective Encounters as a young person, and then have kind of carried that into your professional life. I think, Kate, I might be right in saying that your connection is a bit more recent with the company, but I'll let you speak and you can sort of talk about how you first got involved.
Yes, so it was in 2021. I was on a Liverpool climate justice march. I've been I suppose you could call it a lifelong protester, if you like. So I was there with a particular organisation called Savouring Rose Valley. So we were campaigning against a road going through a country park. So we were out on the ground with our boots and our placards kind of thing. And as you sort of get talking to different people, and I met Aidan and we got chatting and talking, and he asked if I would like to be part of a research project. And that project was called Radical Researchers. So it was about how, people can affect change within their communities by sort of coming together and then acting that out in different classes. So I followed that right the way through from 2021 up until 2025 last year. It culminated in a performance at the end of it. So I don't come from any kind of acting background. My background is activism. However, it has actually sort of like slowly gone alongside my own life, whereas I feel like I'm kind of winding down a little bit in terms of placards and boots on the ground. And I was looking for new ways to be able to express myself and still, speak sort of freely for causes that I cared about. Collective Encounters has allowed me to do that.
Thanks, Kate. Really kind of different routes into the company and much more recent. So, Jo, I probably know you the best out of the three, and we've got a bit more of a connection in terms of your involvement with Collective Encounters. But tell us in your own words how you got involved.
I got involved in 2020 during one of the lockdowns. I had a child under 2 and was stuck at home and felt like I needed to do something for myself. So I got involved in the group Women in Action because you, Tessa, were looking for people to get involved to interview female activists in Merseyside for that project. It was really interesting because, like, as a mom, my understanding of feminism got broader and wider, and I just wanted to get involved as well. So that was the first bit. And then I kind of got sucked in a little bit in the best way, because Collective Encounters has been so like a lifeline almost. They were so flexible, me having my child with me or not with me. It was such a safe space. And then I got involved in the Radical Makers development course as well. Again, super flexible, exactly what I needed.
And Jo, apart from me texting you and asking you to join the board, what made you want to join the board and kind of have that involvement now with the company?
I just wanted to give back to a company that gave me so much when I needed it the most.
So I double checked the dates, and the three of you have actually been on our board for 8 months now. So how has it been? How have you found those 8 months? Did it kind of live up to your expectations of what you thought being on a board of trustees would be?
Yeah, it was easier than I expected, to be fair. So I didn't kind of know what to expect in terms of what would be required and how much you needed to know, kind of thing, because obviously my background's not being in theatre. I was a little bit, but we've all got different things to bring to the table, and I realise that it's important that there's a varied background of people. But it has been an awful lot easier, and we've been guided right the way through. So we're still sort of finding our way, but I feel really supported through it, and it's been a real good addition to my life.
A lot of people listening might have no idea what a board of trustees does. I mean, some people might not even have realised that Collective Encounters is a charity. Does anyone feel like they could have a go at explaining what on earth you have been doing for the last 8 months?
I'd be happy to talk about what we've been doing. I mean, I think the best way it's been described to me is that we're critical friends. I think it's a really important relationship. So essentially, if you're part of a charity, you've got an obligation to be governed by a set of independent people who are volunteers, who help to guide the charity. I think for me, it's always been a bit of a barrier to me thinking that I could be a trustee, because there is a level of responsibility. I mean, I got a shiny letter that says that Companies House, you are now a director of this charity. And I think, oh God, me? Like, how can I possibly be a director of anything? But I think what's been really interesting is understanding actually what is expected is to be an outside eye. And from someone who's worked with lots of different charities and lots of organisations that are very similar to Collective Encounters, it's been very interesting to see how we're all trying to make the same soup. We're just maybe putting different ingredients in, and it's really to just ask questions, I think, as most of what I've done so far. Sometimes it's those little questions that just shine a light on, actually, maybe we haven't thought about that policy for a little while, or maybe we thought everyone knew what this line on the budget meant, but actually it's more complicated and more nuanced. So it's felt to me like a process of peeling back the layers of the onion of Collective Encounters and discovering these wonderful different elements, and then maybe areas where you go, oh, let's put a new jacket on the onion, like let's think of this a different way, or put a little patch on, a little sparkle here. But in essence, how important that is to make sure that we tell the stories of what work is happening, that we fulfill all of our compliance. And similar to you, Kate, it feels so lovely to be a trustee. I'm getting so much out of it, and the way you structure the meetings sounds like it's going to be dead boring, and I can promise you it's not. So thanks for having me.
That's really good to hear that you feel you're getting something out of it as well. Jo, you said you wanted to give something back, so I wondered if you felt like you had been able to give something back.
Yeah, when you just said the outside eye, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I picture myself when I'm not sure about something or when I want different opinions, I speak to various of my friends and like discuss things, and they all come from different viewpoints, and it's all like really helpful. And my background is communications, so I'm aware how important it is for different departments as well to work together, because one decision impacts everybody else. So being able to see that from a trustee point of view, also knowing that all the trustees come from different backgrounds, has been really interesting.
It's really important, isn't it, having that mix of kind of different perspectives and different skills and backgrounds on the board. I wondered if any of you could talk about what your hopes are for the future of Collective Encounters, or where you would hope to see this charity get to as a result of your input or support.
I was just thinking from a comms perspective again, I hope to support in spreading the word further and continuously, because Collective Encounters does such amazing work, is so flexible for participants and radical as well in like the best kind of way. So I want to shout it from the rooftops, basically, so people keep learning about it and hearing about it and getting involved.
Yeah, I think the staff and the programs that have been put together are they're fantastic, they're amazing. So obviously I've been part of that as well. It really is. Like every time I've sort of came away from there, I've loved it. So I suppose it's just to keep continuing that for people like within the community. And obviously things are changing an awful lot, and it can seem like it's quite a scary world at the moment. No one's too sure about, where things are going to go. But if there's that anchor, I suppose, for people, something to sort of keep people rooted in their own communities and thinking about what they can do on a local level, rather than thinking about what can I do for the world. It's what you can do for your own sort of community. So I suppose just to continue with that approach is really important, but now more than ever.
I think for me, the thing that I'm really passionate about is impact, and really understanding that the impact is real. That doesn't mean to say that it's always easy to describe to a funder or to a local authority. We know what the impact is, and we understand that going to an arts project every single week has a huge, profound impact on its participants. And I suppose I would love to be able to support by really effectively documenting this impact and ensuring that there is sustainability to continue.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been something we've been talking about a lot, haven't we, in our trustee meetings. It's a big challenge for a lot of charities, actually, is telling that story of impact in a way that, makes sense to the different funders or supporters who are out there, but, obviously also stays true to what we're actually trying to achieve. So we've been trying to archive 21 years of Theatre for Social Change. We've got a website now which is just sort of dedicated to archiving all of our projects. Could you tell us like one project that really stands out for you in the past 21 years? And that could be something that's already on the archive that people could go and have a look at, or maybe it's not on there yet, but we need to get it on there ASAP.
It's got to be the Radical Researchers for me, because it was a big part of my life and I followed it right from the start to the end as well. But just a little funny story. So we'd come in every week, we'd come up with a scenario of things that were bothering us within our own communities, and we'd act them out kind of thing. So one week we came in and we were annoyed about the streets kept flooding and the grids weren't cleaned out. So that was a scenario that came up. So we walked into a council type meeting in Radical Researchers. And then that same week, I actually went to the parish council where I live. So I went to a meeting to complain about the housing development that was around the corner. So he said at the end, is there any other business? And I was like, yeah, is there any, places available? But I was only fired up from it because I'd been to the Radical Researchers and I was feeling like I wanted to do something, and I was all fired up, and I walked out of the meeting of parish councillor. So that was 4 or 5 years ago.
That's amazing. Those kind of things need to be represented somehow in the archive as well. So that's a brilliant story. Thanks, Kate. How about you, Joe?
Just quickly, do I look purple to you as well?
You look very purple.
Why? What happened? Anyway, I'm purple now. Fine. For me, it'll also be the project I was involved in, which was 18 Women. It was a radio play that we did with Women in Action, and I found it really important to give voice to female activists in Merseyside. Throughout the whole project's process, I found 2 really good friends as well that I'm still in touch with. It was amazing to hear these women's stories, and then also for the radio play to work with an amazing musician to bring it together.
Thank you. The final thing that I wanted to ask you to talk about was, at the time of recording, we are looking for new trustees to join our board. So I just wondered what any of you would say to somebody who might be considering putting themselves forward for Collective Encounters board, or actually maybe the board of another arts charity or any charity really. What would be your message to somebody who's considering that?
I think, you don't need to be an expert. I was actively seeking a trusteeship. I was applying to trusteeships, but I was being very discerning. And there's so many charities that need trustees. You can like shop around and think, what would have the biggest impact? What can I bring to an organisation? And for me, I know that you were looking for more Scousers on your board, and I don't live in Liverpool anymore, and I desperately wanted to give something to a Liverpool charity. So that made loads of sense. So for me, like, theatre is the thing that, if in a perfect world, I would be doing all day, every day. And I now work with lots of different charities in different ways. And for me, it was the right fit. And I just loved the first meeting where Abby, who's one of the co-creative directors, was like, if you're not sure what to say, just make up a word. And I think it can feel intimidating. Like, being a trustee means all of a sudden I need to be in a blazer with a clipboard and looking very severe. And actually, the freedom to be able to make up a word when I'm not quite sure what I'm feeling has been really empowering. And I've felt like I'm able to express myself and to be ready to receive information in a different way. I would just highly recommend it. Come and play with us. It's fun.
Yeah, just certainly, when it comes down to collective encounters, just like explore the archive and have a little look around and see, if it is something that resonates with you, and, ask some questions as well. Or, there's lots of different performances and things like that. So, maybe getting along to something and seeing, what actually it is that people are coming to, and whether that's something that you want to be, a voice for, kind of thing. So this, like I said, I think I mentioned before, it coincided with me wanting to lessen the way I am an activist. So I'd sort of, like, say, for 20 years, I've been sort of campaigning and feeling like putting a lot of energy and time into it, when now actually I realise there's another way to do and say what I need to say.
There was a really interesting phrase you used there, Kate, which was, is this an organisation that you want to be a voice for? I think that's a really lovely way to kind of express a really key part of what being a trustee is about. It's not necessarily about needing to come with, loads of skills or a really good blazer or whatever. It is actually about, have you got a passion for what this charity does?
I picked up on that as well, wanting to be a voice for collective encounters, because I know firsthand, obviously, also how life-changing the arts and being creative can be. So being able to get involved from a trustee perspective feels really special.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today. We'll wrap that up there. It was amazing to speak to Kate, Kat and Joe and sort of hear about your journey with Collective Encounters. And yeah, anyone who's listening, if you think you might be interested in putting yourself forward, if you go into the recruitment section on our website, there's information there about our current trustee role. But even if you're listening after the fact and we're not currently looking for trustees, it might be something that you might be thinking about with another organisation. Like Kat said, charities are always looking for trustees. And sometimes even if a charity isn't actively recruiting or advertising that they're looking for trustees, if there's a charity that you really, really are passionate about and believe in, it could always be worth getting in contact to see if they might be interested in having a new person on their board, because that kind of support is always really valued, I think.